most of us think of the Caribbean, we picture white sandy beaches, swaying palm trees, and the soft rhythms of calypso music. But rewind the clock a few centuries and you'd find a very different picture. The West Indies were once the beating heart of a brutal global economy, built on the backs of slaves and fueled by sugar, rum, and trade. Sugar and the Sephardic Jews, architects of empire. Let's start with Barbados, the birthplace of the Caribbean sugar boom in the 1650s. The catalyst wasn't some pirate or colonial governor. It was Sephardic Jews fleeing the Inquisition, bringing expertise honed in the brutal sugar mills of Brazil. They saw fertile soil, they saw profit, and they built the machinery to turn sugar into gold. Sugar wasn't just a crop, it was a machine that required bodies, African, Irish, Scottish, chained, beaten, worked to death. The Sephardic Jews didn't just participate, they ran the plantations, refined the sugar, and controlled the trade networks. Barbados became a cash cow because they knew how to turn labor into profit. Jamaica, dominance in the colonial crown. By the late 17th century, Jamaica had exploded into a sugar powerhouse. Jewish settlers weren't small-time merchants, they were major players controlling the plantations, shipping, and trade. Kingston thrived under their influence, and Port Royal, the wickedest city on earth, was their playground for commerce. Rum flowed, sugar shipped, and enslaved people bled for profit. These weren't struggling refugees. They were operators of the system, deeply entrenched in every part of the Caribbean sugar economy. Haiti, privilege and profit. Haiti, then Saint-Domingues, was the richest colony in the Caribbean. And Jewish settlers weren't just surviving. They were granted special privileges, let us pretend, to run plantations. Moranos and other Jewish settlers were allowed to establish and operate slave plantations openly, despite the Code Noir, which supposedly restricted outsiders. These Jews were in French trading companies as leading officials, managing plantations, directing slave labor, and extracting maximum profit. Dutch, Danish, and English Jews were also welcome for their expertise in sugar and slave-driven agriculture, cementing their control over wealth and commerce. Curaçao, the hub of Jewish trade. Curaçao didn't become a Caribbean trade hub by accident. Jewish merchants built the networks that drove the economy. Williamstad's Mikveh Israel Emanuel Synagogue stands as a reminder of their influence. As their own Parnassim admitted in an 18th century protest against taxes, "It is we who keep business going with our vessels, as among the Christians there are hardly any who engage in shipping." They weren't outsiders. They were the engineers of the trade, controlling shipping, sugar, and slaves across the Caribbean. Pirates, profits, and pain. Forget the Disney fantasy of swashbuckling pirates. They were sideshows. The real Caribbean was commerce soaked in blood, run by people who knew how to turn human suffering into wealth. Sephardic Jews weren't marginal players, they were masterminds of an exploitative system, building fortunes while enslaved people died in the fields. Every pound of sugar, every barrel of rum, every coin of profit was bought with lives stolen, broken, and destroyed. They didn't just play the game, they built it, dominated it, and profited from it. So next time you stir sugar into your coffee or sip rum, remember the truth. That sweetness came at a terrifying human cost. The Caribbean's history isn't paradise, it's a plantation, and the ghosts of those enslaved still haunt the empire built on sugar.